Now before we even get one toe into this Claressa Shields Remy Ma, Papoose bootleg love triangle, I need y'all to lock in with me right now because what I'm about to break down is not your regular side chick saga. This is not a he cheated, she found out, we all move on type of situation. No. This is what happens when a woman doesn't just want your man. She wants your entire blueprint, your Bronx accent, your fur coats, your daughter's Instagram likes, and the little gold chain your grandma left you too. The Boxer Bandit is out here in full costume. The Papoose pretender is walking around like she just got fitted for the role. And the whole Bronx is watching this single white female remix play out in 4K. This mess is not melting, baby, it already melted, it puddled, it evaporated, and now we out here breathing in the fumes. So get comfortable, grab your snack. Leave a like on this video before you even hear another word. And I need you to say it with me one time. Now here's where it all falls apart. Yeah, you already know how this goes. And honey, that one hit a little different today because by the time we finish this psychological deep dive, you're not going to just see a boxer with a crush, you're going to see a full-blown identity heist in slow motion. This is your girl doing what your girl does, and today we peeling back every single layer of the Claressa Shields Papoose Remy Ma situation because the internet is talking, the perception is loud, and the receipts muffin, the receipts are receipt ng. Guys, let's stack this up real quick. We got the Boxer Bandit, that's Claressa, out here doing interviews where she can barely keep her story straight from one sentence to the next. We got Papoose, or as I'm calling him today, the punchline poet, the married mumbler, the Bronx bamboozler, sitting there smiling like a man who just realized the algorithm caught him. We got Remy, the actual wife, the woman who literally built the Black Love brand alongside this man for over a decade, being treated like she's the intruder in her own marriage. And on top of all that, we got a whole win record situation over in Africa where the punchline poet is out here calling himself an executive on a website that don't even list him as an executive. They got him filed under artist like he a featured act at a county fair. Meanwhile, the industry is moving, real superstars are dropping albums, real couples are celebrating anniversaries, and this little gold love pop-up shop, or whatever we're calling it at this point, is out here trying to rebrand infidelity like it's a Pantone color. This is really about to be something. So leave a like on this video if you think Claressa Shields has been playing in Remy Ma's face like it's a heavy bag. Leave another like if you think the punchline poet, the DoorDasher of deceit himself, has been letting the Boxer Bandit dress up in his wife's identity like it's Halloween in the Bronx every day. And leave a third like, and I need this one, if you think that at this point Claressa Shields is one press conference away from showing up in a curly wig, a fur coat, and a terror squad chain talking about, it's your girl Claressa. We are powered up, we are locked in, and honey, the Blue Heart Gang is in full formation. Now let's rewind the tape. Let's actually go back to the scene of the alleged crime, because the timeline is what's making the internet lose its mind. According to what the Boxer Bandit herself said on national television, she and the punchline poet met at the Shakur Stevenson fight, she slid a hand across, he slid into the DMs, and somewhere between I'm a fan and I got a video he sent me back in 2020 and was it 20 or something? Which, by the way, is a sentence that fell out her mouth like a rock out a dump truck. They were exchanging poems. Chilly. The man is out here writing sonnets to a woman who punches people for a living, while his wife of over 10 years is at home raising a family and holding down the brand. And we supposed to just not? We supposed to just accept gold love as a legitimate concept because the black love shirt allegedly turned gray in the wash? Have you lost it yet? Because I have. And here's the thing, and I need y'all to really hear me on this, this is not me claiming anything is fact, this is me commenting on what the internet is watching in real time, what the perception is, what the receipts appear to show. Because the receipts muffin, the receipts are doing gymnastics. We're talking about screenshots dating all the way back to 2020, 2021, 2022, the Boxer Bandit liking Remy's pictures, commenting on Remy's pictures, calling her Puss Remy underneath posts like they were girlfriends, liking pictures of Remy and her daughter, liking a picture of Remy and Papoose together as a couple in 2020, which, if you believe the Tamron Hall timeline, is the exact same year she claims she and the punchline poet were already in the DMs exchanging Hallmark greeting card verses. Clearly, obviously, this is not the behavior of a woman who just met somebody. This is the behavior of a woman who was studying, taking notes, highlighting the textbook, buying the Cliff's Notes, auditing the class. And now here's where it all falls apart, because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. The hair muffin, the hair, the furs, the fashion, the captions, the cadence, the little Bronx-adjacent lingo creeping into her interviews. This woman is not just dating Papoose, she is auditioning to be Remy Ma. And the wildest part? She thinks nobody notices. She thinks we all out here dumb, deaf, and delusional. She thinks the Vibers ain't got eyes. She thinks the Blue Heart Gang ain't got a group chat. Baby, we been in the group chat. We been screenshotting since 2021. Now let me talk to y'all, the fans of the Boxer Bandit. If you're still watching this video, you're not going to want to be by the time I'm done, but I just want to talk to you person to person, woman to woman, human to human. I want to be sincere with you for a moment. I want you to close your eyes and really ask yourself some questions. If a woman was liking your pictures, calling you by a cute little nickname, complimenting your husband in the comments, sitting ringside at the same fights, and then a few years later showed up wearing your hairstyle, your fur coats, and your entire aesthetic while dating your husband, would you call that a coincidence? Would you? Would you sit there with a straight face and say, "Oh, she just has similar taste"? Actually, I'm lying. I'm not being sincere. I don't want to talk to you person to person, because y'all have already shown me that reasoning doesn't work. Y'all out here defending a woman who cannot go one interview without contradicting herself, and calling that self-care. Y'all out here calling Remy jealous when Remy is literally the woman who was in the picture the imitator was liking. That's not fandom. That's not loyalty. That's a lack of self-respect wrapped in a Team Boxer Bandit t-shirt. And if that's the boundary you set for yourself and what you accept as truth, honey, we can't help you. I'll just leave that there. Because here's the thing, from a psychological standpoint, what we are watching is not a woman in love with a man. What we are watching is a woman in love with a life. In love with an image. In love with the idea of being the woman that the punchline poet writes bars about. And that's a very specific type of attachment. That's not affection, that's acquisition. She didn't just want Papoose. She wanted the Papoose that was already built. She wanted the Papoose that Remy spent over a decade shaping, defending, marketing, holding down through prison bids, through album drops, through label politics, through the whole nine. She wanted the finished product. The seasoned, marinated, oven-ready version. And she thought she could just walk in, put on the apron and act like she cooked the meal. Baby, we saw you microwave it. Now, here's where it all falls apart again, because when a woman becomes this attached to an image, she doesn't just want to be with a man. She needs to erase the woman who was there first. That's why we're seeing this bizarre erasure campaign. That's why we get the black love fades but gold love stays nonsense. Because in her mind, black love has to die for gold love to live. Remy Ma has to be diminished for the Boxer Bandit to shine. Remy's brand has to be tarnished for hers to be built. That's not a girlfriend, that's a competitor in a title fight nobody signed her up for. And the ref, meaning Papoose, is standing in the corner pretending he don't see the low blows. Pathetic. Desperate. Delusional. Unprecedented in its shamelessness. Have you lost it yet? Because we're only just getting started, Muffin. Let me put on my industry hat for a second because we got to talk about the business side of this because that's where it gets really interesting. From the business perspective, what does the punchline poet actually gain by being in a public situation with a decorated Olympic boxer? Think about it. Remy Ma is Terror Squad, Bronx royalty, hip-hop institution, but she is also a woman who has publicly built her career alongside her husband. She's the mirror. She's the reflection. She's the co-brand. Claressa Shields, on the other hand, is an entirely new lane. A boxing lane, a mainstream sports lane, a Netflix documentary lane, an Olympian lane. Some are theorizing, and I want to be clear, this is theory, this is what the internet is speculating, that this whole situation might partially be about repositioning. About the Bronx bamboozler trying to move from rapper's husband into a whole new bag. Because here's a man who has spent his entire career being introduced as Remy Ma's husband. That's a real ego bruise for a lyricist who considers himself one of the sharpest pens in the game. And now suddenly he's overseas calling himself an executive at Win Records, being introduced as the man, the myth, the legend by a promoter in another country, flashing watches worth more than a mortgage. That's not a man in love. That's a man in rebrand. And then there's theory number 2, the one where the Boxer Bandit is doing her own repositioning. Because in boxing, especially in women's boxing, visibility is everything. You need eyes on you. You need storylines. You need cross-promotional appeal. Attaching yourself to a Bronx hip-hop legend, even a controversial one, guarantees blogs, guarantees headlines, guarantees shade room, guarantees clicks. That's not romance, that's marketing. And if that's what she did, honestly, from a pure business strategy standpoint, I'd almost give her some credit. If she wasn't out here dressing up like the man's wife like it's a costume party. And then there's theory number 3, and this is the one that has the internet in a chokehold, that this is a situation where two people who both wanted something outside of their existing lives found each other, and the collateral damage is Remy Ma, her daughter, and the entire brand of black love that a lot of black folks in this country actually leaned on for hope. Because let's be honest, Remy and Pap were the couple. They were the ones people pointed to. They were the standard. And to see that standard get taken apart on live stream, in interviews, in Instagram comment sections, is genuinely painful for the culture. That's why the internet is so loud. That's why the perception is so intense. Because it's not just about 3 people, it's about what those 3 people represented. Now from the label side, from the business structure side, because I want to give y'all the full picture, let's talk about what's happening with Win Records. According to what the internet has surfaced, the Bronx Bamboozler is being called an executive at Win Records, but the company's own website reportedly lists him as an artist under Khadija, whose father owns the label. On TuneCore, allegedly, nothing official mentioning him as an executive either. So the internet is asking a very fair question: is he really running things over there? Or is he a featured act with an executive title stapled on for the press run? And now the Boxer Bandit has been brought into the picture too. She goes on stage with him in matching outfits, something, by the way, that a lot of people online have pointed out he never really did with Remy in the same public spectacle way. And on stage she's rapping, "I want to be the Remy to my man Papoose." Chilly. She said the quiet part into the microphone. She said it out loud on stage in matching outfits at a show. That's not a Freudian slip, that's a Freudian avalanche. That's confessing on the record and then dropping the record on streaming. Now here's where it all falls apart, because at that point you're not even hiding the imitation anymore. You're monetizing it. And can we talk about Papoose's role in all of this for a second? Because a lot of people want to focus on the Boxer Bandit. And yeah, she deserves a lot of the smoke, absolutely, but the Bronx Bamboozler is the one who was married. He's the one who took vows. He's the one whose wife's photos this woman was allegedly liking for years, and instead of blocking her, instead of shutting it down, instead of respecting his home, he was allegedly in the DMs writing poetry. Poetry. In 2020. While his wife was posting family pictures. That's not just cheating, that's spiritual malpractice. That's a man who let a stranger walk into his marriage, take notes, and set up shop. And now that it's all public, he's not defending his wife, he's not defending his daughter, he's flashing chains in another country talking about, if you think it's a game, you not. Sir. The only game being played here is the one where you're the piece and everybody else is the player. And here's the ironic authenticity moment I gotta give y'all. I actually feel a little bad for him. I do. I really do. Actually, no, I'm lying, I don't. I don't feel bad for him at all. He's a grown man. He made grown choices. He knew what he was doing. He knew who he was doing it with. He knew his wife. He knew his daughter. He knew his brand. And he chose Gold Love. Which, by the way, is not a real thing. That is not a real concept. That was invented on a podcast in real time as damage control, and we all watched it happen. Gold Love. Girl. That's a jewelry store slogan. That ain't a relationship philosophy. From the label system side, from the business side, let me tell you what's really going on. When you have an artist who has been in the game for 2 decades and hasn't quite crossed over into that superstar tier, and their spouse is arguably more famous than they are, there is a temptation, and I've seen this play out in the industry over and over again, to try to engineer a new narrative, a new storyline, a new love story, a new visual, because in this business story sells. And a boxer and rapper love story? On paper, that's a Netflix pitch. That's a docuseries. That's a magazine cover. That's a red carpet season. So from a purely strategic standpoint, I understand the play. I understand the calculation. But the problem is you cannot engineer a rebrand on top of the wreckage of a real marriage and expect the culture to just let that slide. The culture has a memory. The Vibers have receipts. The Blue Heart Gang has group chats. And Remy Ma has bars, muffin, bars that will end careers if she chooses to fully unload them. The clock is ticking. And that's what makes this whole thing so unprecedented, because we have seen cheating scandals before, we have seen public divorces before, we have seen affairs before, but we have never seen a situation quite like this, where the alleged third party is out here cosplaying the wife in real time. Wearing the hair, wearing the furs, using the lingo, liking the daughter's pictures for years, studying the mannerisms. It is a level of mimicry that even reality TV would say is too much. It's giving Lifetime movie. It's giving true crime podcast. It's giving based on a true story. Some names have been changed to protect the studying, because she failed to stay in her lane, and failed to respect the marriage, and failed to make her own identity, and failed to even pretend she wasn't watching. Failed, and failed. Where is the originality? Where is the authenticity? Where is the actual love story that doesn't require you to steal someone else's blueprint? Where is any of it? And me? Me personally? I'm just sitting here watching it play out. I really am. I'm eating my popcorn. I'm sipping my tea. I'm taking notes for the next video. Because the schadenfreude is real, muffin. It is real. When you play in someone else's face for years, when you sit in their comment section liking pictures like a fan account, when you slide into a marriage wearing the wife's exact aesthetic, and then you have the audacity to demand apologies from the internet. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy watching this unravel. That's not petty, that's justice with a Bronx accent. And on top of all this, the industry is not standing still. Real artists are dropping projects. Real couples are celebrating milestones. Real women in hip-hop are winning, are elevating, are moving into film, into fashion, into business. Meanwhile, the Boxer Bandit is out here doing interviews trying to explain a timeline that doesn't math, and the Bronx bamboozler is overseas flashing chains, and Remy Ma, the actual queen in this story, is watching, waiting, and cooking. Because when Remy decides to speak, when Remy decides to really speak, this whole gold love narrative is going to crumble like a wet cracker. Mark my words. It's coming. The escalation is coming. So here's what I need y'all to do. Go over to Instagram, check out that account Larcher777, look at the receipts for yourself because you don't have to take my word for it. The timeline speaks. The likes speak. The comments speak. The screenshots speak. And they are all saying the same thing, which is that this was not a coincidence, this was not an accident, this was not a we just met and fell in love story. This was a plan. Or at the very least, a pattern. And patterns are worse than plans because patterns are subconscious. Patterns are what you do when you don't even realize you're doing it. Patterns are the tell. Now tomorrow, and I mean this muffin, tomorrow we are coming back and we are breaking this down like a fraction. We are going to talk about Papoose's psychology specifically, because we've spent a lot of time on the Boxer Bandit and rightfully so, but the Bronx bamboozler has some questions to answer too. What kind of family man allows a woman to walk into his marriage like this? What kind of husband lets his wife be publicly cosplayed? What kind of father lets a stranger like his daughter's pictures for years without saying a word? We are going to get into it. We are going to unpack it. We are going to psychoanalyze it. And I promise you, by the time I'm done tomorrow, the entire punchline poet mystique is going to be looking real different. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure the notification bells are on, and make sure you check out the video on your end screen right now because there's some stuff about the Win Records situation and the alleged executive title that I did not even fully get into today, and you really need to see it to understand the full picture. Because at the end of the day, now here's where it all falls apart. This whole situation is not about love, it's not about romance, it's not about gold versus black. It's about a woman who wanted a life she didn't build, a man who wanted a rebrand he didn't earn, and a wife who is about to remind the entire industry why she was the standard in the first place. And the Vibers, the Blue Heart Gang, we're going to be right here documenting every single step of it. It's your girl, Nyla. Blue Hearts up. I'll see you tomorrow. Muffin, stay tuned.